to dance with my father again. When I and my mother would disagree, to get my way I would run from her to him. He'd make me laugh just to comfort me, yeah, yeah. Then finally make me do just what my mama said. Later that night when I was asleep, he left $1 under my sheet. Never dreamed that he would be gone from me. If I could steal one final glance, one final step, one final dance with him, I'd play a song that would never ever end. 'Cause I'd love, love, love to dance with my father again. Sometimes I'd listen outside her door, and I'd hear how my mother cried for him. I pray for her even more than me. I pray for her even more than me. I know I'm praying for much too much, but could you send back the only man she loved? I know you don't do it usually, but
If you're just tuning in, you're live on Z101.19 FM and it's still The Focus. We turn our attention to news around the world.
every night I fall asleep.
So this past week, during the BEC examination, a 14-year-old basic education certificate examination candidate Awudu tragically passed away on Friday, June 13, 2025, after collapsing at the Adiembra Examination Center in the Asin South District of the Central Region. Awudu, a student of Nua Number 1 Basic School, reportedly began exhibiting signs of illness during the previous day's examination, was taken to the Asin Adiembra CHPS compound for medical attention. But he was not attended to as a result of the ongoing strike by the nurses. Consequently, the candidate collapsed while taking the first paper yesterday, Friday, June 13, and was rushed to Asin Fosu Polyclinic, where he was pronounced dead, and that's on a rather sad note. Also, His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama has directed the Ghana Armed Forces to provide armed escort and protection to vehicles plying key routes in the Boku area as part of urgent steps to restore safety and calm in the conflict-affected region. Speaking during his thank you tour of the Northeast region on Friday, June 13, the president said the military has been instructed to secure the Boku Makom Bolgatanga and Waliwali Bolgatanga corridors to ensure safe movement of goods and people. And if we turn our attention to Nigeria, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu on Wednesday, July 11, 2025, awarded a posthumous national honor to the late environmental activist Ken Saro-Wiwa and 8 fellow campaigners 3 decades after their execution by a military regime. Known as the Ogoni Nine, the activists were convicted by a secret military tribunal for the alleged murder of 4 pro-government Ogoni chiefs in 1994 and were hanged in 1995. A move that drew international condemnation. The long-delayed recognition marks a symbolic step towards national reconciliation and acknowledgement of their struggle for environmental justice in the oil-rich Niger Delta. Also in Tunisia, the Tunisian politician Nabir Morsi has been sentenced to 2 years in prison after criticizing the legislative electoral process. A prominent critic of Tunisian President Kais Saied, Morsi is head of the right-wing Free Destourian Party and has been detained since 2023. She was charged with attempting to change the form of government, inciting violence, and attacking with the aim of provoking disorder after she tried to submit an appeal against presidential decrees ahead of local elections. Her sentencing on Thursday, July 12, 2025 is part of what government critics say is a crackdown on opposition politicians. Now, turning attention to the international scene, a black box has been recovered from the site of the Air India plane crash in Ahmedabad less than 28 hours after the disaster. And this was stated by India's Civil Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu Kinjarapu on Friday. The flight data recorder retrieved by the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau is expected to play a critical role in understanding the cause of the crash that killed 241 of the 242 people aboard a London-bound flight, as well as at least 8 people on the ground. The aircraft went down in a residential area shortly after takeoff on Thursday, and Mr. Kinjarapu has called the black box recovery as an important step forward that will significantly aid the inquiry. Planes typically carry 2 black boxes, one for flight data and one for cockpit audio to assist in crash investigations. And also in France, there were 2 brutal attacks at schools in France and Austria within hours of each other on Tuesday have left communities devastated and governments urgently seeking ways to protect students from sudden acts of violence. In Nogent, eastern France, a 14-year-old boy fatally stabbed a school assistant with a kitchen knife during a back check around 8:15. Less than 2 hours later in Graz, Austria, a 21-year-old former student entered a high school at 9:43 and killed 9 students and a teacher using a Glock 19 handgun and a sawn-off shotgun. These shocking incidents have intensified public demands for effective prevention strategies and deeper engagement with younger people at the risk of violent behavior. And also at the Vatican, Carlo Acutis, a 15-year-old Italian churchgoer who died of leukemia in 2006, will be canonized on September 7th, becoming the Catholic Church's first millennial saint. Pope Leo XIV confirmed on June 13, 2025. The ceremony, to be held in St. Peter's Square, is expected to draw thousands of young people inspired by Acutis' digital evangelism, most notably his creation of a website documenting Eucharistic miracles. Pope Leo will canonize Acutis alongside another young Catholic, Pier Giorgio Frassati, who died in 1925 at the age of 24. Acutis' sainthood was originally scheduled for April 27, but was postponed following the death of Pope Francis. And also in the United States, President Donald Trump has approved a long contested partnership between U.S. Steel and Japan's Nippon Steel, which was announced by the companies yesterday. In a joint statement, the firm said they are committed to making American steel making and manufacturing great again, and confirmed they had signed a national security agreement with the U.S. government. The deal, once blocked by former President Joe Biden and met with bipartisan opposition, marks a major turnaround under Trump, who has championed the revival of American manufacturing. Their partnership is seen as a symbolic step in Trump's broader industrial agenda, with U.S. Steel representing a key pillar of that vision. That'll be it for the news around the world. But again, let me remind us all that tomorrow is Father's Day. And if you haven't thought about doing anything for your father, I recommend you start thinking about it now. Again, a happy Father's Day in advance to all fathers and all prospective fathers. And we hope that all fathers will join in making Ghana great again. We'll take a very short breather here. When we come back, we'll launch into the main conversation for the day. Don't go away. Stay tuned.
Z 101.9 FM.
When a single mom goes out on a date with somebody new, it always winds up feeling more like a job interview. My mama used to wonder if she'd ever meet someone who wouldn't find out about me and then turn around and run. I met the man I call my dad when I was 5 years old. He took my mom out to a movie, and for once I got to go. A few months later I remember lying there in bed. I overheard him pop the question, and I prayed that she'd say yes. And then all of a sudden, oh, it seemed so strange to me how we went from something's missing to a family. Looking back, all I can say about all the things he did for me is I hope I'm at least half the dad that he didn't have to be. I met the girl that's now my wife about 3 years ago. We had the perfect marriage, but we wanted something more. And now here I stand surrounded by our family and friends, crowded round the nursery window as they bring the baby in. And now all of a sudden, oh, into a family. Looking through the glass, I think about the man that's standing next to me. And I hope I'm at least half the dad that he didn't have to be. Looking back, all I can say about all the things he did for me is I hope I'm at least half the dad that he didn't have to be, because he didn't have to be. No, he didn't have to be.
Z 101.9 FM.
Just they worry. Daddies, them say all we do is to run away from the babies. Daddies, every day we do this and that. Them say we no be responsible. No be everybody there like that. It just be funny cause if man no day, if puppy no day, then waiting we get. If man no day, if man no day, how we go exist? Happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day to every man where they fight for their responsibility. Happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day to every man where they do everything for the family. Yeah. Who say man no day? So who say man no day? See, if man no day, if puppy no day, then wait till we get. If man no day, me then you no go day. Happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day to every man where they fight for their responsibility. Happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day to every man where they do everything for the family. Yeah. Hallelujah. To be a man, eh? Now, wow. Yen papa no one way you my ding. And the share so. To put food on the table. Paying the bills and all that. I mean, sure. One we're gonna someone you're not refugee. Then you're fine. We don't know how to marry. We just they worry. Daddies,
it's your lifestyle, lurcher, and business radio.
From the babies. Daddies, every day we do this and that. Them say we no be responsible. No be everybody there like that. It just be funny cause if man no day, if puppy no day, then waiting we get. If man no day, if man no day, how we go exist? Happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day to every man where they fight for their responsibility. Happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day to every man where they do everything for the family. Yeah. Who say man no day? So who say man no day? See, if man no day, if puppy no day, then wait till we get. If man no day, me then you no go day. Happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day to every man where they fight for their responsibility. Happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day to every man where they do everything for the family.
Indeed, happy Father's Day to every man out there. If man no day, waiting we gain, as the song says from Abuchi. Indeed, happy Father's Day to every man out there working very hard to provide for his family, to work to contribute to quota to the country. We are proud of you. We appreciate the effort, and we pray that God will continually grant us the strength and the ability to help in building the better Ghana. So today we're going to be discussing the 24-hour economic policy set, which indeed is set to begin on July 1. And the question we are asking ourselves is whether we are ready for this. It started off as a political move, as a political conversation. A lot of people or a lot of naysayers said it's not possible, it's not going to be done, it's not going to serve any interest of a Ghanaian. Indeed, that is not what is going to transform our economy. But it looks like the president now has moved it from a mere political promise or a campaign promise to something he's going to actualize. And just this week, the president has been speaking about it. Let's take a listen to it.
That on July 1st, the 24-hour initiative policy will be ready to go into operation. This policy will provide the framework for continuous production, processing and logistics in horticulture. It allows perishable goods like pineapples, mangoes, chilies and herbs to move swiftly from the field to ports to international shelves, minimizing losses and maximizing value. And I'm pleased to inform you that the Ministry of Trade and Agribusiness and Industry and the Ministry of Transport are working together with the Ghana Revenue Authority, the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, the Ghana Shippers Council, and other stakeholders to soon declare the Tema and Takoradi ports as 24-hour ports. It will not only be about working longer hours, it will be about building the infrastructure, the energy, the security, the transport, and the digital platforms that enable round-the-clock agro-industrial activity. It is a strategy of hope rooted in efficiency and scale. To stabilize our currency, we must earn more foreign exchange. And one of the surest ways is to expand high-value agricultural exports. We are on that path boldly and deliberately, and we shall work together with our exporters to be able to achieve this. Ghana exports fresh produce to Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. And in 2024, our non-traditional exports exceeded $3.5 billion, with horticulture at the forefront. Our target is to exceed $10 billion by the year 2030, and this is possible. To do this, we must shift from aid to trade and from dependence to dominance in the export value chain. Under the African Continental Free Trade Area, we have a single market of 1.4 billion people. We must not only trade more, but also produce more, and Ghana must lead in this effort.
So you'd have heard His Excellency John Dramani Mahama explain the operationalization of the 24-hour economy, where he indicates that you're going to start with the port. And arguably, his estimation is that by 2030, he estimates that our import or our export target, the revenue target, should exceed 10 billion USD. And more importantly, because of the operationalization of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which makes Africa and Ghana is destination a trade hub, we as a Ghanaian people cannot relent on our efforts to trade. And as such, in the estimation of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the 24-hour economy is going to assist us boost trading, and is going to assist us to operationalize our otherwise dead sectors or malfunctioning sectors, so that we can be able to make the maximum or obtain the maximum utility out of it. And today, to help me have this discussion on the 24-hour economy, I have Dr. Joe Domfe, who's a development economist from the University of Ghana, who will be joining us online, and also Mr. Kwesi Hagan, who's a human resource personnel who will be joining us. Dr. Domfe, I don't know if you can hear me. Good morning.
Good morning.
I hope everything is fine and you're doing well.
Yeah, by His grace, everything is fine here.
Great. Thank you very much also for making time to join us this morning.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Right, so we are going to be discussing the 24-hour economic policies here. And maybe to get everything started, what exactly is this 24-hour economy? Because I know that at the time it was introduced, there was a lot of misconceptions from different camps. Even some people said that the proponents of this policy are even unable to explain it to us as a Ghanaian people. From where you sit, what exactly is the 24-hour economy policy?
Thank you very much, my brother. And let me say very good morning to our cherished viewers and listeners as well. Yes, 24-hour economy has always been very difficult to explain, because at the time the government proposed it, they didn't actually come with any document explaining what is meant by 24-hour economy. And so most of us were speculating that once it is 24-hour economy, it simply means that everybody or the platform is going to be expanded. I'm talking about the labor hours of work is going to expand it, so that we Ghanaians will have opportunity to work all the 24 hours, as the name simply implies, 24-hour economy. So it was to create the opportunity for Ghanaians to work 24 hours a day. What it means is that everybody who wants to work 24 hours could do so, compared to today, when official hours of work is normally between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. That is those who are in the formal service. Yeah, mostly work between 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And so by having 24-hour economy, it means that we will go beyond that. We're not going to end, put the working hour at 5, but it will go beyond that, so that 2 a.m., 1 a.m., people are still working.
Yeah.
One of the explanations that they provided during the campaign was 1 for 3. 1 for 3 is suggesting that if you don't fail as a lecturer at Legon, I go to work from 8 to 5 and I leave, they are going to engage another lecturer to also teach students even when I am out. So between the hours of 6 p.m. all the way to 5 a.m., that are usually, or in the normal scheme of things, we are not supposed to be working. We will get lecturers also working by way of teaching students. And so that has been the understanding of the 24-hour economy.
Right.
From any perspective, I think that.
Right, but doctor, let me find out from you. So are you suggesting that the 24-hour running is going to be by person, or is going to be by the institution? Because you mentioned that, so now people can go beyond the, let's say, the 8 or 9 to 5, and the person can decide to work 24 hours. The emphasis on that one person, on the fact that that institution will be available to run for 24 hours, so people can run different shifts.
Yeah, so the institution is going to create that environment. If you come to Legon today, we go for lectures at mostly 8 a.m.
Yeah.
And most lectures would end at 5 p.m. Mostly, most of them. Of course, sometimes we do have lectures in the evening. I run a program. I'm a coordinator to a program called Master of Arts in Public Policy. And this program will normally have lectures between 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. because it is tailored for workers. And so we do have some engagements after 5, but that is not too popular compared to the situation where most of us go to work from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. to 5
p.m.
And so your question, it's not the individual, it is the institutions that are going to create that platform. So once a particular institution or a particular sector of the economy is engaged in 24-hour economy, what it means is that this particular platform or institution or sector is going to create that enabling environment for workers to work throughout the 24 hours of the day. It may not be the individual worker going to work 24 hours a day, but one worker goes to work for a certain number of hours, then another one comes to replace that particular worker, and that's how things are going to be.
Right, but Doctor, do you think that this thing it's a conversation we need to have? Because already, don't we see some sectors running throughout? Because there are some pharmacy shops who run 24 hours. They are, in fact, recently, if you drive through town at night it's as active as during the day. The Indomie sellers are selling, even coconuts. You see some of them even selling through the night. So is this even a conversation? Isn't something that's already running?
Yeah, as far as my understanding will help me, I have always maintained that this shouldn't have been a deliberate policy from the government. I've had opportunity to travel across the world, and one experience I've gathered is that 24-hour economy is a byproduct of development. Countries that have developed and have big factories hardly close down those factories. And so if you go to China today, so many factories are there working. China is the biggest manufacturing economy in the world. And so people in US, Canada, Europe, Africa are always ordering goods from China. And because of the demand, huge demand for the goods produced in China, the factories work throughout the 24 hours. And so it wasn't a deliberate policy by the Chinese government, but as China developed and it captured the manufacturing space, and it is now the leading manufacturing country in the world, and people are always going there to demand. Nobody told them that they have to work 24 hours, but because of the demand, they were forced to work 24 hours. Most of the factories in China. And even if you come back home to Ghana, it was very common. It was very, very common during Christmas time. If you have lived in, at a village before, at Christmas time, the dressmakers, they don't sleep. They work throughout the night because people are always demanding. People send their things for them to work on. Their dresses. Their Christmas dresses to them. And so when it is getting closer, and I don't know why it was always so, people will not buy the materials until a few days to and when they do, they are forced to stay throughout the night to work. Again, another thing that is even very common today if you go to the village, it's also the same dressmakers during funeral, when we have funeral, especially if an important personality dies. And you see that everybody wants to, especially the women, they want new kaba styles and all that. And so if you go, these are dressmakers. They don't sleep. They don't sleep there throughout the night. You see them working. And so the 24-hour economy is more of a demand-driven kind of concept. And so you can create that environment. But if you create it and there is no demand, then it becomes a problem. I've always talked about what the chairman of NDC, Mr. Esidia, had to say about 24-hour economy, that in order to motivate people to work 24 hours, they would reduce tariffs, electricity tariffs, and they also reduce taxes that these people who work during the night are supposed to pay. That is very good. So it's going to attract more people to work, because if you work at 24-hour, if you work during the night, certain hours, and your taxes, you will not pay taxes, or you pay only small amount of what you should have paid, and then electricity tariffs as well, you are going to be encouraged to go. For example, the lady at Makola is going to be encouraged to open the shop throughout the 24 hours, because during the night, her electricity bill will go down, nobody will go there and also ask her to pay taxes. And so that is going to motivate this lady to go to Makola. But what about if the lady goes to open the shop and nobody goes there to buy? That's the demand that I'm talking about. And so have we asked in all this that John Domfe, who stayed very far away from Makola, what is going to motivate me during the night to put about 10,000 Ghana cedis in my car and drive all the way from my place to go to Makola to shop? So it's not just enough to motivate people to open up their shops, but there should be enabling environment. The environment should be conducive enough to motivate people, like us, to patronize whatever services that will be rendered by those government has targeted. So it's not just enough to target those people, but who are going to patronize their goods? The whole thing is demand-driven concept, and it makes it very difficult for government to have full control over it, because government can do all that is necessary, but if the patronage from the citizens falls short, I don't think the lady who went to open a shop at Makola goes there 2-3 days and nobody comes to buy, will still be encouraged to go. No, that would be the end. So there are so many things that we are struggling to understand. Yes, government has talked about sectors such as passport office is going to work 24 hours. Yes,
I was actually going to come there. I was actually going to come to, those essential sectors. But even let's just still stay on the demand bit a little. Don't you think that the issue of demand of the product is also based on availability? Sad to say that if you take, let's say, the traders you use as an example, I was actually shocked to know that on Sundays, I think as a rule in Makola, they don't open shops. So if you need to buy something on Sunday, Makola is not the place to go to. In fact, I think there are even penalties that are imposed on them when they open a shop on a Sunday. So because there's no availability, let's say on a Sunday, the demand will not even come at all. But assuming we know that shops open on Sundays, don't you think that some people then who want to purchase a product can decide that I'm going to go on a Sunday, or I'm going to go at night after these hours, and all of these stimulate the demand that can be created, or the demand that will be needed to patronize those goods. Don't you think so?
The whole thing, my brother, a lot of questions. That's a fantastic observation you have made. Yeah, but it all comes back to the whole concept. I have read about 24-hour economy, and I was trying to see a country that has deliberately, developed it as a policy and had implemented it. The closest I came was Kenya, that made attempt and was never able to carry it through. Most of the countries that today we see 24-hour economy working there are countries that didn't deliberately draft 24-hour economy as a policy, but then as they developed and they did so well in the global market, and people got to know what they could do and started pushing for them to do more for them. That is what drove them to do what they are doing, that has brought in its wake 24-hour economy. I must say the concept is so successful when it comes to manufacturing. The factory, factory based, manufacturing. That way, it works perfectly there because I'm over there if you look at the whole thing, those who are demanding, they don't come there to buy it at night. But the whole thing is that you are producing.
Yeah.
And they can come and take their order anytime, any day. So all you need to do is to produce it. And so in that, when that happens, it becomes so easy. I quite remember about 5 years or so ago, I went to this place, Asin Tafo. I was doing research.
Yeah.
And I spent night at Asin Tafo. Did I say Asin Tafo? Asin of, I've forgotten the name of it. Asin Praso, that's the name.
Okay.
Asin Praso. So where the pra is, Asin Praso.
Yeah.
And I spent the night there. I went and interviewed the gentleman. I've forgotten the name. So fantastic. He's an, entrepreneur. A Ghanaian who stayed abroad, got so much money, came back and established a factory, and he was into production of polythene bags, And the company, not that big, was doing so well. One of the secrets about this company was a 24-hour economy, because he told me that when he started the manufacturing of polythene bags, he went to Kumasi, and before he could say that, so many people expressed interest to buy from him, and so he had to supply to Kumasi. Later in the day, he went to Cape Coast, he went to Accra, and so many big cities across the country who accepted to patronize his products. And so when that happened, he then realized that he didn't have enough money to, of course, buy a new plant.
Yeah.
And so what he was, in order to meet the demand coming from Cape Coast, Accra, Kumasi, and other cities, and Asin Fusu, other places, then he had to immediately devise a strategy of engaging people to work in shifts. And so if the night people go, they work the whole night, and during the day, another set of workers will go and work the whole day. And this is what was happening at Asin Praso. So those who are listening to me and they come from this place will bear me out. And this man has done this so beautifully. So when it comes to manufacturing, it is so easy for this particular concept to work. It works very well with manufacturing. Again, it works also very well with services. It works very well with services. As we rightly put it, some of the services, talk about policing, talk about health service, they are already doing this 24-hour economy, except that a service like educational services, it will be very difficult to provide educational services at night. For example, University of Ghana, if we decide to go 24-hour economy, the question is, who will be prepared to go and teach at the night, and who will be prepared to send their children to school at night, especially so when the university doesn't have accommodation for most of the students. And some of the students are staying as far as Kasua, and you want them to come to lectures at 1 a.m. At that time, I think it will be very difficult. And so services, yes, some of them can do it. Most others cannot even render services throughout the 24-hour economy. And my brother, talking about this, one thing that is so essential is security.
Yeah.
I remember when we started, when this thing became popular, mobile money.
Yeah.
And at my area, you could go and do it around 8 p.m. Today, around 6, everybody is running away because when it is night, these guys will use moto to come and attack you. We've had a couple of such cases where sometimes they even killed, the momo vendors, And so it's not safe. I, as a researcher, I've been traveling across the regions all the time. In fact, last week around this time, I was even in Volta region. So I'm always moving from one region to the other.
Yeah.
And what I realize is that when it is getting to around 7 p.m. and you don't have fuel in your car in some of the regions, you may have to stop your journey because almost all the filling stations will close around 6 to 7 for the fear of attack, And so it's going to be very difficult, even for, what we call those that are popularly known as filling stations, and most of them are afraid to operate during the night. You can imagine. You know, I'm not too sure what government is going to do to encourage such filling stations to operate throughout the 24-hour. I've heard that they are going to engage more police to protect those people. Yeah, but the question is, if police are at the station protecting those people, what about those of us who also have to move from our houses to those places? What will be the security situation?
Yeah.
Everyone is afraid to leave their houses. If you go abroad, you will hardly see these walls, the fence walls. They are always shut. or most of the houses don't even have fence walls.
Yeah.
But the situation, we have fence walls.
Some areas, though. I mean, usually there are some elite areas who have that. Because in those countries, there are some countries too that you can't joke with security.
Yes. Yeah, those countries, they don't joke with security at all. I can't remember. Recently, I found myself in Ireland for almost 1 month. And once upon a time, I went to the city. And when I got there, I was at the University of Dublin. When I really wanted to have that age to immediately enter the washroom. Unfortunately for me, around the Saturday, I went to my department. The whole entrance was closed, so I couldn't get access to the washroom. I moved around campus. There was no washroom, and I stayed not so far from campus. I had to walk, and I was running. Why? The way I could have done it, it was just, to unit. And so if it were Ghana, I would just stop somewhere and, but over there, the security is so that I was warned that if you make a attempt to do such things, you will be immediately arrested for indecent. You can't stand anywhere in public to do certain, even though it was at night. There are cameras everywhere, and as soon as you begin to do it, in no time, police will be there to arrest you. That is a country that do 24-hour economy. Even there, let me confess that I didn't see 24-hour economy. It was only at the city center where most of the shops were closed. But when it was around 12, even when I was there, and especially maybe at this time, by 10 p.m., you see sun, But even with this, people still, it's only at the community center of Dublin that you could see activities. That wasn't even, it's just like Ghana where you go to Usu, 2 a.m., you still find people there. Yeah. And so this particular concept, I know that is the major thing government wants to do. And sometimes I'm very careful because we don't have very good example to explain it. We only want to wait how government is going to go about it. It's too early to say it will not work. Maybe it's going to work to show the way to the world that 24-hour economy could be a government's deliberate policy. Maybe because if the different infrastructure that we have vis-a-vis the structure of the economy and who does what at when, it tends to tell me that it's very difficult to do a number of pages for this policy to be effectively implemented.
But Doctor, let me come back to you. Still on the 24-hour economy. I see you have some doubts. But let's look at it in terms of productivity. And even let me use you as an example. You teach now within the normal economy, let's say from 8 to 5 p.m. Let's say that depending on your schedule, you may teach almost every day, or even if you are not teaching, you are researching or you're doing some academic work. Now, let's take the essential sectors like DVLA, passport office. Now, you must do your license because it's maybe expired. Now, by the time you close work at 5 or 4 p.m. or even 3 p.m., by the time you move to the DVLA office, they say they are closed. Now, you are forced then to either go and hire a Goro boy to do it for you or go through some unlawful means to get it. So now when we extend these 24 hours to such sectors like DVLA, to the bank, some of us who still do traditional banking, so that by the time you need something urgently from the banks would have closed. Or passport office, sometimes you go, you see the queue there because everybody needs to get their work done within a certain period. And you can have instant where for 2 days you haven't done any work because you go there, go to this office, go to that office. By 3 or 4, you must end and come back the next day. So don't you think that now extending these sectors beyond the traditional hours allows then for productivity? So then when I know I have to renew my passport or my DVLA, my driver's license, I don't need to use my working hours to do that. I can close from work at 5 and still go there and get the work done. Same with the other sectors like anywhere else. We would even come to the ports specifically. But if I want to export goods, if I know that the ports are open throughout the night, I can go and do my work. When I'm done, I can come and sort these things out without affecting my productivity. Don't you think that for our peculiar situation we find ourselves here, where, you see, if we look to other countries, like the examples you've given for other countries where they don't necessarily do 24-hour economy, in some of these places, everything is very online, it's digital. You don't need to go to the place to do your passport or to do your driver's license. You can just sit in your office, put in your numbers, pay the money online, everything is done. But here, you need to, Lands Commission, you may need to follow up with your documents. So all of these, don't you think that with our peculiar situation of Ghana, this then, maybe even though we haven't seen some before, it's still a step in the right direction because it is so that it doesn't affect our productivity?
Another very good some of the sectors. The DVLA that you talked about, especially when it comes to production of the licenses, I'm sure if today they are going to work from 8 to 5, and the opportunity is created for DVLA to work 24 hours. What it means is that we wouldn't see any queue. We queue when you go there. Most often, the licenses, it takes quite a while for them to finish producing them, because they go to work at 8 and they leave at 5. But if they have to go to work throughout the 24 hours or the DVLA works 24 hours a day, then it means that whatever order they receive in the day, they should to complete. So just wait and see. Sometimes you go there 2 weeks time there and they've not finished. I think all those problems will be addressed. Again, if you also have to work 24 hours, then what it means is that instead of, and I'm at Legon, where I'm supposed to work 5 to 8, but because this so urgent, sometimes I have to skip my teaching or what I have to do during the day to go and kill them. The good news is that because of the 24-hour, when I leave Legon after 5, I can then go to DVLA 8 at 10 for my service, my driving license to be renewed, and or the passport for my passport to be, renewed. So for those sectors, it is very possible that it can work. And you talked about an airport, our port, about, I'm sure over there as well, the 24-hour economy can work, where it will be very difficult for me is a thing that you talked about. Ghana government has commercial banks, and maybe apart from consolidated bank, the CBG and also the Ghana Commercial Bank, that Ghana government has a larger stake. And most of these banks, commercial banks, are owned by private individuals. Also, Agricultural Development Bank, Ghana government also has a higher stake. Apart from these, most banks are owned by private individuals, and I don't think Sanchez would risk we go even the developed world, standard doesn't open, don't work after 4, after 4 p.m. Most of those banks don't work. And I think instead of pushing our banks to work, we should be encouraging people to move to digital banking. Here, where I sit, I go to bank all the time, and I have to send money to my people at the village. I don't bank anymore to queue to take money. With a matter of time, transfer the money to their mobile accounts, and I was able to access. We should be encouraging people to move to the digital. I think the digital access will help address most of these problems that we think we need 24-hour service to do. And so, by and large, it will be very effective in those services you mentioned. But if you look at the labor force population, how many people are working in those sectors? How many people are in those sectors? Indeed, today, about 14 million Ghanaians are supposed to be working. The 14 million Ghanaians who are working, only about 900 or less are being engaged by government, and even government. Not all the government agencies can work 24 hours. And then, and so you take away about 1 billion that are working with the government, and the remaining, you want to find out how many of them can government control. I'm talking about the private enterprises. How many of them can government control to work 24-hour economy? I mean, you guys are already working. I'm not if you sat down, you are listening. Most of these stations, even at night, you are playing music. And the question is, most of these government has control them. So I'm a bit sicker because I know the hope of people is so high that at the end of this whole show, every Ghanaian who is now on this employment is be employed. I would have been excited to see a Ghanaian employed. The unemployment rate is so high, and the employment is a problem, and because of many not part of production. And so, if you want the country to develop, you want to get more people in production. We teach students 10 years, and you ask them, and they are still looking. Unavailability is a problem. But I don't see. I'm a skeptical. I don't see that 24-hour economy doing that to immediately address our employment issues. I am thinking that it will work very well if we concentrate more on the manufacturing. Government encourages more factories to be set up, and if we have more factories everywhere in Ghana, and we are able to produce quality so that the global market, we are able to penetrate the market to get that demand. I'm sure factories here will work 24 hours, and that in a way will help this policy to be effectively implemented. Otherwise, the few areas that we've talked about already, DVLA, licenses, at the pause, and only few areas can effectively, implement this. Talking about labor force, we also know that about 40, presently, about 4 out of 10 Ghanaians who are working into agriculture, the kind of agriculture that we do in this country, it's mechanized. It's not mechanized. And so I'm wondering how that farmer at Kofi Krum, near them, can benefit from this 24-hour economy. If government introduces mechanized agriculture, machines are used to do most of the work, I'm sure it will be very possible for the agriculture to also work for hours. And that has been a very good, because that way, once agriculture sector works very well, food inflation will come down. the problems facing this country is food. I mean, inflation. Food is so expensive. If you go to neighboring countries, African countries, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, and other places, food is very cheap.
Yeah.
But Ghana, to take your salary, you are spending more than half, or sometimes 60 to 70% on food, and that doesn't help at all.
Yeah.
And so if we are able to introduce, bring more machines, mechanize the farming, and then I will get more people into agriculture, working through 24 hours. That would be an evolution. I'm saying that economic development has never been, an event. It's always a process. And so once it's starting, for now, we don't have to manage our hopes. For now. But then, moving forward, if they are able to extend this to cover agricultural sector, and then we're able to build more factories, and then government fronts this agenda of pushing these factories to make inroads in the global market, so they get that patronage, that demand to produce more, then we will be good to go. And President Mahama, the speech,
Doctor, we'll come to
his speech.
Doctor, we'll come to look at, in fact, how government can be able, how we can properly streamline the 24-hour economy as you're doing, what we can put in place to ensure that it's of a success. But Doctor, please permit me to go onto the line to speak with Mr. Kwesi Hagan. Good morning, Mr. Hagan. Hello, sir. Mr. Hagan.
Yeah. Hello, good morning.
Yes, sir. I trust you're doing well.
Yeah, I'm good. How are you doing?
Fine,
good morning to your listeners as well.
Fine, thank you very much. And thank you also for taking some time off to join us in our conversation.
Sure, no problem.
Right, so before you joined us, we've been having a conversation with Dr. Domfe on what the 24-hour economy means. And Dr. Domfe has been expressing some concerns about the 24-hour economy. He thinks that it shouldn't have been government-led. It should be a byproduct of development and demand. And he gives examples of some countries where, because there's a high demand for a product, the manufacturers or the industries are then forced to work through the night. Because assuming you have, let's say, 100,000 orders to deliver in 3 days, nobody will tell you that be working through the night to meet those demands. So he thinks that government rather should have been creating development, and the demand factor should have been there for the 24-hour economy to be a natural byproduct. Now, let me ask you, Mr. Hagan, from where you sit, what does the 24-hour economy mean to you?
Okay, thank you very much. I think I will be speaking more from the human resource perspective.
Absolutely.
As an HR person, I'm looking at the issues regarding job creation, the potential for it to create jobs. So we are looking at the potential in 5 years creating about 3 million jobs. I'm also concerned about the performance management as well. As people are going to work at night, how productive are these people also going to be? Because we are now used to working from 9 to 5.
Yeah. Even
from the 9 to 5 that we are active, if we look at the World Bank Human Capital Index 2020, it scores Ghana's Human Capital Index at 0.45. What that means is that if we look at the future workforce, taking into consideration the person's education and health, the maximum productivity of our workforce is going to be 45%. So we have not even reached 50% when we are working from 9 to 5. So if we are going to transition to working into the night, then how then is productivity going to be? How is it going to be measured? The health and safety issues when it comes to working in the night. Because if you look at the workplace-related injuries, I think those that work at night are much more prone to workplace related injuries because of fatigue and also working in the night. So these are issues that from the HR perspective I'm much more concerned about.
Right, but if we look at it again in terms of supervision, in terms of proper structures, because the understanding is that we won't have the same group of people working throughout the night. So such that the one who came at 9 is not the one who will still be there working, necessarily be there working, let's say at 2 a.m. Do you still foresee these challenges happen? Because then whoever it is who came, let's say at 8 p.m. or 10 p.m. should have been well rested through the day and all that. But you still foresee that there's a problem with them?
Okay, yeah. So what you mentioned is the ideal situation. But when we look at the reality, that is not what is going to happen. One, human beings are not nocturnal beings. So we are not created to stay alive at night. We are created to sleep in the night. So that means we're going to do something contrary to nature here now. That's one aspect of it. Now, the second part of it is when you expect people to sleep in the day and come to work at night, practically it doesn't happen like that, because we know in terms of remuneration and salary levels in this country, most people barely, if you look at the inflation levels, how much we are earning, you cannot live on one salary. So we are having a situation where many people will have to depend on second jobs. So the person that you expect to sleep in the daytime and come to work at night will use the daytime to go and do other jobs to get money. So he comes to work very tired. And practically, let's look at even the security industry, security band. Mostly you go to a place in the night, they are sleeping. I have worked in a company before where we were operating 24/7. In the night, when the workers come, they will be sleeping, and sometimes customers will even come and knock, and people will not hear it because they were asleep. So the ideal situation is, yes, people will have to rest in the daytime, but the practical thing is that they will not rest. People will go and do work in the daytime. The night they will come in tired, and then that is where the issues will start talking.
Right. So then from your perspective, you assert therefore that the 24-hour economy is not a workable thing?
It's workable, but we need to prepare the economy for it first. So I think the other thing that we have to look is that we look at the current workforce. Are we trained? Are we trained for it? Are we prepared for it? If we are to segregate it into various components in terms of our skills and education, we cannot say that looking at the Ghanaian workforce population, we are adequately prepared to work in the night. What about occupation, health, and safety? We have weak systems when it comes to workplace occupation, and we don't even have much policies guiding night work. So that is one aspect the policymakers will also have to look at it. Compensation for night work, policies when it comes to health and safety for those working at night. They will have to also look at those aspects of it. Then transportation and security, I'm sure Doc has touched on that. And then our culture and mindset when it comes to working even in the night. All these things, we need to prepare the workforce in terms of training, in terms of sensitization. So I'm thinking instead of a wholesale enrolling it on wholesale basis, if we can pilot it bit and pieces and see how it goes. So as we move on, we can be tweaking in and then plugging in the holes until we have the situation that we think will be much more workable for us.
Right, but we have seen that, when we go abroad, working literally 15-hour shifts, 18-hour shifts have never been a problem. You can have sometimes a student, he goes to school from morning to afternoon or morning to late afternoon, goes take like a 2-hour nap, goes for his evening shift. We have seen it, and it's really worked in these countries we go to school or to hustle. So don't you think that it's as you say that we are not nocturnal beings, it's only because of the part of the world we find ourselves, because elsewhere people work throughout and it's okay. It's just that there's just some stress in the system, but people work and they are perfectly fine. In fact, they enjoy doing it because of the extra income it comes with it. Don't you think then there's something that is just we who are just tagging ourselves as we can only work from morning to evening, so we can do extra work in the evening?
Okay, so first of all, we are not saying that we can't work morning till evening. We can work. You can work in the night. But first things first, you need to put in the first things first. I mean, talked about the infrastructure, even the energy and the rest. Elsewhere where it is working, when they had a plan to do the 24-hour economy, they put in place the structures first. So it's not the other way around. That implement it, then as we implement it, we will try to put in the structures to fit in. You put in the structures in place. Our road network, our transport network. If people are going to study online, what's the quality of even our network? Those even living in Accra, when we are even making phone calls, it's not great. The telcos are not giving us that service that we need. Internet services. I'm using fiber broadband, but anytime I'm using it, I will have to keep refreshing it on and off. And so all these issues need to be created. Electricity, power generation. We have enough power if people are going to stay overnight and work. We have enough capacity to supply them. All these things needs to be checked first. And also one important thing that I want to talk about. If we look at these advanced countries that are operating, there are also other concerns that they also have to deal with. For instance, if you look at Wikipedia, there's a report that Wikipedia published that most of the countries that are operating 24-hour economy, you have about 10 to 40% of their workforce suffering from shift work sleep disorder. So these people are manifesting insomnia or excessive sleepiness. And the health risk involved is that they have 37% of their workforce who are higher risk of heart attack, 44% who are higher risk of type 2 diabetes because they are going to also be eating in the night and the rest. And you have 32% of these females who are also having increased miscarriage rates. So these are health issues that those within the health sector will also have to think about and see how they can also support the workforce. So it is possible, but we need to be aware of other factors involved and prepare the workforce for it and put in place the necessary structure. If not, it's just going to be another rhetoric. We'll just pumping money in there, won't see any results.
Wow, that's interesting. I mean, interesting dynamic you bring to the fore. But from an HR perspective, do you think, I mean, now the president has declared that it's something that is going to stay. There's not much we can do. From an HR perspective, do you think that there's enough capacity to train? Now you're going to train different sets of people for that same job. Do you think that that capacity is going to cost the company much more than it ought to have, than the generation of income that is going to come in? Because I know training, depending on the sector, training one set of people is not easy. Now, because they may be running for 24 hours, maybe you may have 3 sets of people coming in. Some of them will come today, tomorrow they'll quit their job. Now you must be just training and retraining. If you look at it from a cost-benefit analysis, do you think it's worth it?
So Zig Ziglar said something interesting. He said that you don't build a business, you build people, and then the people will build a business. If we are looking at costs, what are we considering as costs? Cost-benefit analysis of not training your employees, the cost that you incur in terms of workplace injuries, the compensation you have to pay, the lack of productivity, and the rest. And the money you pay to train and prepare the workforce to do that. Which one is better? So we need to build the people so that the people will build the business first. But if you build the business and you put in the people who are not well trained, the results is going to be very catastrophic.
Right. Thank you very much. Let me just turn briefly to Dr. Domfe. Mr. Hagan has actually...
Yes, sir.
Right, Mr. Hagan has brought out the dynamic we are not even told much about in terms of even the health of the people. I mean, the kind of food they'll be eating and all that. From your developmental perspective, do you think this is a real challenge or this is a real worry we should think about?
Yeah, I think I agree perfectly with him, and that is that's not to say that because of that the 24-hour economy cannot be effectively implemented. Yeah, but then I agree with him that naturally humans are created to enjoy and not human beings. For example, you have to enjoy not less than 8 hour continuous, sleep. And so it is when everybody talks about 24-hour economy, 24-hour economy, then you're also asking whether or not you come to sleep. But I do know that because it's going to be not that, and we made this clear at the beginning, an individual is not going to work 24 hours, but then when you go to work 8 hours, you leave the other person to come and take over. So what is going to happen is that money may have to sleep during the day, which is very difficult to do, and that's where I agree with my brother. Money. So those who work at night, what it means is that during the day they may have to fall them sleep, and it will take time for people to adjust to that situation. Also during the daytime, a lot of places you can control noise. Even sometimes to me here when I'm working at the house, these young guys who sell things will come to your gate to knock or shout, and so it doesn't matter how deeply you are asleep, you get up. And so people may have to adjust themselves to this idea that I work at night and during the daytime I have to force myself to sleep. That's if that is how things will go, maybe we may have to adjust ourselves. But I think the most important thing he talked about is structure. That was what I was also talking about. The structures, you can't just begin to do this. And unfortunately, why it is a problem is that this has become the main flagship policy of the government. And I think they will do anything to make it works. But in doing that, the emphasis or the attention is so much on the producers of goods and then the providers of services. Government is not thinking about the entire population, about the patronage. And so during the night, as my dear brother put it, some of us, we have been conditioned to sleep at night. That would force me to go to Makola during the night to trade, to buy what I need and not during the daytime. So, security is very important. I should be assured that moving from my house all to Makola and back, there's not going to be any attack, and I think that the good thing that there will be no traffic. And so that would motivate people to move in the night. But then there is a security issue. And again, naturally, we have also been conditioned to sleep at night. And so what it is that would also put me to forfeit those 8-hour sleep to go and transact business during the night. All these things are very, very much important. That's why it will work in some of the few sectors like you mentioned, a few sectors. And so passport and Ghanaians actually will make passport a day. And so that tells you that if even it works there, today there is a queue. There's always a queue there. If you go to the driving licenses, DVLA, there is always a queue. Yeah, but when they begin to work well, in the next 6 months, that problem will be solved and there will be no queue. I'm wondering whether after that we will still need people to work 24 hours and pay them. Not just getting people to go and sit at night and they pretend to be working and government pays them. If that happens, because today as I speak with you, government payroll is a problem. One of the biggest issues confronting this government, the government of Ghana, is how to get enough revenue to pay remuneration that has gone way over 30% of the total tax. So government is already suffering. And if they make attempt to increase recruit more people, they will be recruited to do pity we need to be much concerned about the activity. It's not just for the fun of getting them there, but getting them there to do what would compensate for the money that government would eventually give them at the end of the month. Otherwise, it creates serious fiscal slippages. Already, our fiscal science has not been that robust. And so if we bring this thing in, because number one, government can force the private sector to do this. I've seen that they've started engaging some of the private sector, players. I'm not too sure whether they will get that patronage. So government may have to show by engaging more people in critical sectors that identify where our economy can work. But when you get people there, it's also going to create another problem of fiscal wages. A while ago, we saw the nurses on because according to government, they needed 2 billion. What they were asking for, extra 2 billion would have to cater for. The government have committed 270.6 billion on commitment basis. That's how much government is going to spend. Yeah, and so bringing on board another 2 billion, they say the budget make way for it. I'm wondering whether if today DDLA, if we have 10 people working there and government increases it to 30 because of the so-called shift that they talked about, government will be in position to pay them. Government will be in position to pay them if they go there to work and get resources. What I'm saying, so they may not be working effectively as those working in the night for certain reasons. Because now we have seen that there's always a queue, as I earlier mentioned. And that's what I've given way to the Grow Boys and all those also. And so if you get these people there, within the next 6 months, that queue is going to be addressed. I don't think so many people will need driving licenses all the time or another passport all the time. And the thing is, if you get these people within 6 months, they are able to clear all that challenge. What would are we going to still keep them to work 20 hours even when they don't have much work to do? It's so difficult to understand the whole concept, and I can only advise that government should tread cautiously.
Very well, very well. Let me turn shortly to Mr. Hagan. I know we have limited time with Mr. Hagan here. So let me find out from you. Now, government has announced that they're going to start the flagship with the port. Now, we have heard the challenges we all have preferred, the issues of labor, issues of health and all that. If you were to be the HR for the ports, any of the ports, Accra, Aditema ports, what measures are you going to put in place to ensure that this program will be a success, will be able to achieve the most of it? Because in fact, the president wants that by 2030 you should be able to raise at least a revenue of about 10 billion from exports and what have you. Based on all these challenges for C, what will you advise them to do, especially at the HR of such institutions?
All right, so thank you very much. So, let's just link it to the points that we've already discussed. So the HR point of view, first you need to start with sensitization. It's a change people are going to go through. So change management here is important. And that is what, if I'm the HR of these sports, I'll be looking at. Preparing the workforce, training them, looking at health and safety issues with them, and also making sure that our job descriptions are also going to change. People are going to work in the night and the rest. So I will have to look at people's job descriptions, make some changes. Performance metrics will also have to change. What are we looking at in terms of the performance of this workforce? So I will need to work out all these things. And then also when people are working on at night, our Labor Act currently is silent on the remuneration. Elsewhere, people who work night receive something a little higher than those who work in the daytime. But we don't have those provisions in our current Labor Act. So as the HR for these sports, I also look at compensations and other things for those who will be working with them alongside their performance. But there's one other thing that I want to also bring across for us to think about it. We know the government sector too, they are also overstaffed in the wrong areas. Instead of bringing in new people, are we also looking at where people are overstaffed and not that productive, reassigning people from these places to take up the work so that, the productivity level, people will be put into much more use rather than starting from, 24 hour, we will need new people, let's bring in new people. Have we looked at evaluating jobs and roles being audited to see whether, so if I'm the HR of the port, that is also one thing that I will also do. I will do audits of my current workplace, do job evaluations and the rest, and see where people are overstaffed in the wrong areas and move them out there before even thinking of the recruitment that I will do.
Well, very well. But how about the health issues? And in fact, also at the port, beyond that, in fact, I think Doctor hinted it. Because, at the port, there's huge infrastructure, lifting up of containers. So sometimes the safety may appear compromised. If you were to advise them, what would you say?
So I mentioned the issue of health and safety, and I know when it comes to the ports, mines, and the energy sector, they don't joke with the health and safety. So I will have to have a look at the current health and safety measures within the company and make sure that stricter enforcement and other provisions are also for them to make them feel much more safe.
Right. Very well. Thank you very much, Mr. Hagan. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show. We are most grateful for your time.
Thank you.
Right, thank you. So we just heard from Mr. Hagan, who is a human resource personnel. Doctor, I turn my attention to you. Now let's focus our energy on the ports, where the government says they are going to start the 24-hour economy policy there. Now I bring you back to our conversation on the demand. Now, if we are running a 24-hour economy at a port where people are working there 24 hours in a day, but we are not exporting anything, of what use is that policy?
Yeah, so as we that economic development is not an event, it's a process. And so 24-hour economy, we can set up the immediate what do we want to do with it, and during the mid-term and also the long-term plan. And when the president was talking, I think he made mention about how Ghana is going to make use of the African intercontinental
free trade
area
after.
So to improve export, and to me that is good. And what it means is that yes, our export may be low, but we are thinking about ways of improving the quantity of goods that we are going to export. And I think his attention is on the agro, the agricultural value chain. And to me, that is very, very good. You do that, you are going to create more jobs. And if you create more jobs for the people, you're also able to get more inflows of foreign currencies. It will help you shore up the value of your currency. And naturally, today we see cedi doing very well, and it's so official because we all know government hasn't done anything to cause what is happening. The only thing government is currently doing is Bank of Ghana supplying more dollars into the system. But it becomes natural if you are able to put in place conditions and systems to create, to improve on the export. So instead of the Bank of Ghana intervening periodically in the market to supply, which is artificial, we will have very, very big firms rather going out there to sell foreign. So if we have Kwame Wise, This Way Company, so many of them across the length and breadth of Ghana producing to sell, to bring in more dollars. At that point in time, if you see CD gaining strength, then you have to clap for whoever is in power, because that is the natural way to keep the value of the CD. And President didn't mince words. I think he talked about CD and stabilization from that particular perspective. So I'm sure the document, the way the document comes out and we all get access to read it, I think in the document, they may definitely have the immediate terms and conditions for 24-hour economy, the medium term, also the long term. So when we get it, maybe we all would read, interrogate the issues out there, because they always say he who laid the path does not know his back is crooked. It behoves on us following to constructively offer opinion and suggestions, and that's exactly what some of us will be doing to make sure whatever government has set up goes well for the people, because Ghana is for all of us, you know. And so, my brother, I think about the exports for now, it might not be so prudent to get more people there, because we are not exporting so much apart from the traditional exports, not exporting so much. But once systems and things are put in place to push export to the higher level, we may need more people. I think one thing that is very clear, and the man who just spoke made mention about it, productivity is very important.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, what we are not going to see, he made a very good suggestion that it is necessary, or it will be very important, that we transfer people who are less productive in some sectors of the economy to where the 24-hour economy will, for them to be very productive there. But I don't think that's what government is going to do. Unfortunately, our democracy, the kind of democracy that we are practicing in this country, wouldn't allow them to do that, even if that is the prudent thing to do. I'm sure now they want people to know that they have engaged so many people who are unemployed through the 24-hour economy. So, that would have been a good suggestion from the profession and from the professional. But that's what government is going to do. They are to engage new people so they can come there to tell Ghanaians through the 24-hour economy. I've been able to employ 1 million Ghanaians. I've been able to employ 5 more Ghanaians for the next 4 years message. That is more important to the politician than what the professional said. And so what I'm going to say is that where the 24-hour economy is going to work, they engage new hands. Unfortunately, most of these new hands do not work effectively. We have seen some of these. A while ago, NPP came and there was probably graduate unemployment. They brought in it what they call the NAPU, you know, and just followed. Some of these guys would go to work and they would, for a whole week, they would go and converse. Eventually, they were government to pay them, because you have to pay them. But the truth of the matter is that they were mostly unproductive. Most of them not having anything to do. So government needed to engage. They were engaged. That's all. That's exactly what I'm saying. We're going to engage so many hands to go and sleep. To go and sleep. That wouldn't all, because already, as I said, our wage is too heavy, and that is why government finds it difficult to increase salaries. As a senior lecturer, anytime I receive salary, it doesn't last for 3 years. And the most difficult part of that for me have been when salaries are paid, because the money is so insignificant, it is not able to do anything. And so when the money comes, you suddenly develop headache. You are thinking about how well you could use that small money to do so many things. It's not easy at all, because we have so many people working for government, and they are very unproductive. Most of us, if you go to some of the establishment, government establishment, what 20 people are supposed to be doing, you go and you see 50 people doing it, because the private sector is not expanded fast enough to absorb the teeming unemployed. And when the government comes, they employ so many people because they have to satisfy their people who help them to win power. And so they will employ more people. Maybe the new trick this government has introduced to sack. So they replace them. Since they have power, they sack so many people. Maybe that's another to manage the labor. Then they have to be careful. If you also you are not being the those people that you have sacked them, are they not human beings? Are they not Ghanaian? Don't they also pay taxes? And with this new attitude that the current government has done, I'm going to I know it's going to happen that when another one comes, CPP government, NPP, whatever government that wins, they may do worse than what these people have initiated. That's not to say that all the government that have come and gone, they didn't sack people. They did. We heard some of the cases, but we didn't hear it. What happened recently. I mean, I can't only describe it as unprecedented. We've never seen it happening in that quantum, and sacking people to replace them with a guy who supposedly helped you to win an election. And so that's exactly what government is going to do. Now we still have so many people who help the government win power. They are still home. And one of the promises made was that we're going to implement 24-hour economy. And as soon as we do... But
Doctor, wouldn't you think that is merely speculative?
Where one person is currently working, we would make it 3. So this is what government told them. It is back of their mind. They are waiting. And if it does not fulfill this promise, it's going to affect them in 2028. And so we'll do whatever that is possible to make sure they engage more of these people to go to sleep. I know it's going to happen, my brother.
Right, but Doctor, let me ask a last question before I take your final words. As part of their promise, the government promised that when the 24-hour economy commences, the industries who subscribe to, they are going to be giving some subsidies or some tax waivers, and even electricity and all that. They are going to be reducing and giving them cheaper electricity and all that. Do you, from where you sit, looking at the tight position of government, our economy as we find in our in that very precarious situation we find ourselves, that even electricity and energy is still a big issue, do you think government will be able to fulfill that promise as part of support for the 24-hour economy in the short run?
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult because I'm already doom so is a problem. And I think one thing that I told before President Mahmoud won his election was that he had a very bad name when it comes to Dumso, and at a point people even used to call him Dumsohini. And so this time he will do anything possible in the next 4 years to make sure he redeems his image as far as stability of energy is concerned. And he has shown way introducing this tax last week to rake in more money, because if for every gallon of petrol, an individual buys pay 4 cedis 50 pesos. Why not? It means they will get so money. 4 cedis 30 pesos. It means that they will definitely. Did I say 4 cedis 50? I think I was right. 4 cedis 50 pesos. They will get more money to buy to power or to pay independent power producers to keep the power on. So talking about the power on. Once this particular tax, the delay, once the implementation kicks off, it's not going to be a problem. Power wouldn't be much of a problem. But if they are able to sustain the power and everywhere there is light, so that people are able to move around and work at night, that is very good. Another question that comes to the fore that I think we need to interrogate it is that, yes, so power is on, 24-hour power. There's no problem. And I've gone to work. I'm at the office. people should come to patronize the services that I'm rendering. It's not just enough to say government is going to cut down the electricity tariffs, government is going to reduce taxes that I have to pay. That's not enough. If as a medical doctor and I go to the hospital, if as a teacher and I go to school, if as a manufacturer I go to work, if as a trader I open my shop, are people going to patronize this the same way they do during the day? If the level of patronage is higher, that is what is going to get me to go back to work at night. But if I work at night and nobody patronizes it, and then I go around telling people that because when I go at night and I don't pay taxes, if I go at night, I don't pay electricity, or I'll be going at night. I don't think that's going to work. In fact, producers are rational economic players, and they would always make sure whatever decision or action that they take, they benefit from that decision. And so if you go, you open up your shop, nobody comes. The first day, second day, they will close. I mean, nobody will go. And that will be the so-called 24-hour economy as far as that particular individual is concerned. And so it's not going to be easy to drag and get the private sector out. If I were government, I would have concentrated more on setting the structures. I mean, Nana started something beautifully, one district, one country. I mean, let's deepen that course of action, get more factories established almost everywhere in Ghana. That's exactly what China did in the 1980s. China has become the second biggest economy. We can do that to produce more of the things that we'll be using dollar, for which reason there's always pressure on our city. And so if you want to do all that, and then you think about, you get Ghana Standard Board to push manufacturers to be very mindful of quality of what they produce. I'm sure that can get us to the global market. Once you make name in the global market, nobody tell you that you should work the entire 24-hour economy. Every day people are going to make all this, and by that you'll be encouraged to do more. And so I would have thought that that's the way to go, not just to pick it as a deliberate policy they are doing. But as I said, let's see what will happen. Maybe this is going to show the way for the rest of the world to follow. But as I sit here now, I still remain very skeptical.
Okay. That's why, because if you look at their policy document, they are very optimistic about it with statistics from other countries who have made it work. But I mean, you still maintain, you are quite pessimist about it. But notwithstanding, now as we have it now, as a Ghanaian people, we have it to stay. The president has launched it, and it behoves on us to support it fully. Because indeed, if this policy works out, it's for the benefit of every Ghanaian, and it's for the improvement of our economy. So as your final words, just sounding optimistic to the sectors, what are you going to say, especially to the ports that is set to begin on July 1st? What will be your words from your development finance perspective? What can they put in place? What should they do? What should management start be thinking about so that we can ensure that this policy works out for the betterment of us as a Ghanaian people and as an African people, because we have a target of 2063, that's the Agenda 2063 for the AFCFTA, which all of us must ensure that it works out well.
Yeah, you are perfectly right. We all are Ghanaians and to do well to improve our situation. When government gets so much money, that's when they can pay, they can increase my salary for me to also live very well.
Absolutely.
And comfortably.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so on that note, I want things to go well. My advice to government is that they should tread cautiously, not to be political about it. When I say not to be political about it, is that we have quite a number of their supporters who still remain unemployed, and these guys are on the street. Government should not use this means of packing them. We have to be more concerned with efficiency and productivity. And so where we need 2 people, we shouldn't engage 3, 4 people. Because we want to show to the world that the system is working and we are employing so many people. I think that's my first question. Because if you bring so many people to work inefficiently, at the end of the day, their number is going to push the bill up, unnecessarily up, where their addition to the whole production will not be anything that you'd Ghanaians would be about. And so government should be very careful. They shouldn't engage more people at where they are not needed. That's my first question. Again, my second one will be that I think government should focus more attention on the manufacturing. Let's help individuals. Let's partner. If it is state, should set up the enabling environment. Our economy is all open market economy, and therefore government doesn't have much to say when it comes to production. But then government can set up enabling environment, as we have said, for the sector that is the engine of growth to thrive. And in doing this, one thing that they shouldn't forget is our manufacturing. Today, Ghana depends so much on what is produced in China, what is produced in Germany, what is produced in US, and that's why when there is any global crisis, it tends to hit us so hard. And so the only way that can help us protect the livelihood of individuals in the country is to make sure we become sufficient. And the self-sufficiency is seen more well you are able to produce yourself. And so government should look at that. If the 1D1 factory, they can change it and bring a new name, and make sure we set up more factories to produce and replace most of the things that we import. When you do that, you will be increasing employment. More of those who are unemployed will be engaged. When you do that, these factories can also work 24 hours a night. When you do that, you will be cutting down imports so that the dollar that we always chase to buy some of these goods, nobody is going to kill to chase for dollars, which means it is going to stay stable to ensure that prices do not fluctuate the way they do. Anytime appreciates, we see prices of goods and services fluctuating, and what happens, it doesn't help with the livelihood of Ghanaians. And so government should be careful. Number one, I've said they shouldn't engage more people where they are not needed, and the focus and their attention should be on the manufacturing. They should help individuals or something is possible, partner individuals to set up so many factories that can work 24 hours, produce more, to cut import, and also import. So that we can even bring more foreign currencies to up the value of the city and prevent Bank of Ghana periodically entering the market to throw money to the secondary forest in order for our cities strength, just as they did. Recently we saw and BOG, Bank of Ghana, buying the market with 490 million US, and they did that by supplying 420 million US, significantly as a result of which we see now appreciating against all international trading and currencies. These are, if you want these things to be natural, what do we need CD for? What do we need the dollar for? We need dollar and import. And so the moment you begin to produce here, you need, to cut the demand for dollar, and not to also mention that when you begin to produce, set up more factories to work 24 hours a night, we're going to boost export. We're going to increase export, for which there will be more inflows of foreign currencies to the economy to protect the city, to make to keep it at where we all love to see it, and by and large, fuel prices will stay put, and the economy does well, everybody becomes happy, and people who travel through desert wouldn't have to go through those, dangers. They will stay back home.
Yeah.
That's all to come together to build the Ghana that we want.
Absolutely.
We shouldn't forget that 100 years soon, 2057. And so people have started talking about Ghana at 100. We need to be very careful. And maybe we think about AU at 2063 for the whole Africa. But for us, it will be 100 before the whole becomes 100. And we should think about at age 100, what would have become of Ghana at age 100? Are we going to see our students that we have taught at the university traveling through desert to go to work at 100? Are we going to see CD at the beginning of the year, as is happening in the year 2022? $1 going for cities, 20 pesos at the year, happening over 15 cities. Is that what we want? That the Ghana we want? I think we want a better Ghana. We can get a better Ghana through some of these policies. Even though I have some with the policy, I am sure that because it's not an event, but it's a process. They can
Absolutely.
set out the process if we're for the policy to be effectively implemented.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Domfe. And we've been listening to Dr. Domfe, who has made some very erudite and insightful contribution to the 24-hour economic policy. I mean, Doctor maintains that he is pessimistic, but notwithstanding, if we are able to improve productivity such that government must tread cautiously, must not be political, but more importantly, focus on manufacturing, which will lead to increase in productivity and create employment. If we do that, he thinks, or in his opinion, the 24-hour economy policy will just be a natural offshoot, and we don't need to have an intentional policy for that. But thank you very much, Dr. Domfe, for your very insightful contributions, especially from your perspective also as a development finance expert and also as a lecturer. We are very grateful for your time, and I'm very sure that we'll have to discuss the 24-hour economy at some later date, and we surely will fall back on you for your insightful contribution. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to all our listeners who joined us, and also those who joined us on our social media platform, especially on Facebook, to watch us live. We're extremely grateful for your time and for spending your Saturday morning with us on the Focus on Z101.9 FM. And as I mentioned earlier, tomorrow is Father's Day. Please do not let it go unmentioned. And Doctor, let me also take the opportunity to wish you a happy Father's Day in advance. We know as a father you are contributing your quota to the development of Ghana, and we pray that God will help you and many more fathers to help so we can build the Ghana that we want by, as you have introduced now, by 2057 where Ghana turns 100, or for the African agenda of 2063 where we have the Africa that we want. So to everybody there, make sure you send your father a nice message. Make sure you buy a gift for your father. And in thinking of buying a gift for your father, I recommend to you mytabimart.gh, where you can get any classic watch or any classic gift you need to get for your father. You can contact them on 0262683489, 0262683489. I can assure you that you get the best Father's Day gift for your father. Thank you all very much once more for joining us, and until we come your way next week, do well to stay safe. Do well to join the Ghana agenda, where we contribute a little quota to the development of Ghana. Stay productive, let's stay positive, and we are very certain that Ghana shall rise again. Thank you very much. I've been your host, Kweku at Accra Jumana. Until we come your way next week, it's bye for now.
Them say we don't know how to marry, we just they worry.
Z 101.9